Okay, so for us, what was our current status? What was like the burning platform? I think I've moved it. What was the current status? The current status is that our step data was not giving us the information that we needed so that it informs our programming. And therefore, everybody needed to jump, and the leadership needed to start to jump. And actually, the leadership had to jump fast for the rest of the team to really see that this is real, because people always say that change, we have been in this organization for a long time, and things come and things go. So this time it was really, really intentional, and the leadership even had to show with their own, their verbal communication and verbal communication that we are literally all jumping. And what communicated that was the leadership presence in the breakthrough workshop, and even them taking up the 3 other sections that I had said, and they're saying, okay, we are going to work into this. And so people knew that it was very, very, very serious. So the current status that was now the burning platform is just basically what I've said. And also the roles and responsibilities was not clear, because you find that in terms of people feeding into that information, it was left to a clique, a small group of people. So there was like the silo mentality. It was only left to the sponsorship staff. So the fact that the people saw the leadership in there, it was like, oh, everybody else is now supposed to do sponsorship. And what did we want to achieve? What was now the future? As you see the guy going up with the flag, we wanted to have a well-planned process in the step data collection. And then we also wanted to have effective utilization of the data. Because we say garbage in, garbage out in a database. What kind of information do we put inside, and what kind of information do we get out, and how do we then use this particular one? And in terms of ownership, we wanted to see that everybody, for example, in an ADP owns this particular process. And we knew that this was going to have an implication on staff. We knew that we needed to have new skills for staff, especially those who were not involved before. We needed to share this particular information to a larger group of people. That's why we were 45 from the leadership down to the people who are literally doing the work on a daily basis. And then we also needed to lift the workload, because the sponsorship staff felt that this thing was all left for us. If I am an ADP manager, issues of sponsorship is left to the sponsorship person. So you find them, they're working even over the weekend, they're working. At times, there's a time they had to work on the night, because keying in data in that database really takes time. You have all this paper, and you have to key them in. And so it was like a lot of workload for them. And then we also needed to have everybody identify with the sponsorship. So when we shift this back, our desired feature was utilization of step data, quality data, and utilization of that step data.
Well, I think, thank you, Lydia. That's a great example. And just to flesh it out, we're giving the example of that one change, and I don't think it seems as compelling when you just focus it on that one, because it really is those 6. There were the other aspects as well, but the data is really what got Kenya and the other countries in trouble, because information was being put in the system as if it was reality, and then it went all the way up to the top. And then we realized, look, we have to act on this information. If we find that children are malnourished, we need to act on it. Our programming needs to follow. We need to be responsive to that data. So it's many different things which led to the current, the fire, and as well as the future. So we have the life cycle, right? From problem, building, launch, to full implementation. When we're launching, it's important that we communicate and act upon, really a clear sense of why we're doing what we're doing, what the future is, what the journey is, and supporting people in the process. And so we have the example from World Vision Kenya about that. Let me just briefly mention that in the there are a lot of different models on change, but the one that we use is that we tend to focus on 4 different aspects of change. That is the delta between here and here. You've got a hierarchical structure and you move to a flat structure. You've got a strategy that focuses on service delivery to a strategy that focuses on empowerment. You have a business process that's a certain way and you revise it. So there's a change. It's pretty linear, but then that affects people, right? So you change the structure. Today I'm reporting to a real example from West Africa, Dan, and then I report to Victor. So there's a new relationship, development, trust with my new boss, Victor. A sense of identity. Perhaps I had a West Africa identity before, now I have to focus on all of Africa. Skills are impacted, or how we communicate. So this is the soft stuff here. So we could debate kind of what goes in what buckets, but essentially the notion is that there is this kind of objective, kind of hard change, if you will, and then there's the people side. And it's really this part that's the hard part to manage. We can declare a structure done when everything's right, and I'm now reporting to Victor, but ultimately it's not done until it's fully, the sense that now I'm in this new role and it's working, right? So let's go then back to Lydia. We've been asking the question of what, right? We've been asking the what question. As we ask about who, it becomes more clear what about the change and the impact of the change. Because it's one thing to just say, yeah, the process needs to shift, the roles and responsibilities need to shift, but that's pretty generic, right? How does it affect me as a particular function in the organization? How does it affect particular categories, particular groups? That helps clarify what we're talking about. So,
okay, what's the change? We have understood what the change. We needed to change the step processes. Then now we went to ask ourselves, after the solution was built, now who are going to change? Who are the users of the change? And here I have just put a little organogram, a simplified organogram of how it looks like. We have a national director sitting up here. Then we have the operations director, who the position is called deputy national director. And then we have divided the country into 2 for the sake of operations. We have the branch 1, which is basically the eastern part of the country, and then branch 2, which is basically the western part. Now, under those branches, we are having sub-branch managers, and sub-branch managers take care of about between 6 to 8 programs. By programs, I mean the area development programs that are defined before. And then in each of those programs, we are having the ADP managers. And then at the ADP managers, we are having their support team, which is basically we are calling this position Integrated Development Officer or a Development Facilitator. And then under the Development Facilitator, we have the sponsorship officers, who literally on a daily basis does the work of sponsorship. He works along with the system operator that operates the system, keys in the data, produces reports and all that. And within the management, we also have the ADP accountant. Now we found that the change that we needed to implement in the step data was going to cut across from all these people. Now the role of the operations director was like the sponsor. He said that in a change, you need to have a sponsor. The person is saying, I need this change. So the national director said, I need this change. And the person who that change affects the environment is called the champion, the person who the change is in its department. Now for our case, it was the operational director, because it does the normal operations of sponsorship plus the managers. Okay, the operations director, the sub-branch directors, and the and the branch managers. They were like now the sponsoring of the change after the solutions was built here. Remember when he said we got the recommendations, blah, blah. Now, when we now went to start implementing the change at the launch, we discovered that these are the key people who really had to really change, and we listed them here. So we found that how deep was the operations director supposed to jump? I said before that he jumped, but his jump was not very, very big. Okay, so we did a rating and we gave him 5. And what was the new change that he needed to? We gave him a 2. Sorry, what was this new change? He needed to provide leadership to the change process. Now we looked at the program manager. Now going down to where the real action is. And this person really had to do a big jump because, you know, he has the leadership role. He has to now support this new staff that are going to have different roles. Before, sponsorship was only being done by maybe a group of people that are just designed to do, you know, sponsorship thing. And we had a joke in the organization that when you're sent to sponsorship, that means you're really dump because it's all to do with paperwork, looking after these children and all that. So when you're not taken to do sponsorship, you feel like you're being demoted. So people had kind of mentality towards an attitude. So the manager had to really make such a big jump. You're now going to supervise an accountant whose work is not really to monitor children. What does that mean for the professional, even the feeling of the accountant? So we found that his role was really going to be a big. So we gave him a very big, deep jump. Then the development facilitator works along with the program manager, and they are going to do similar jump. The work of the development facilitator is basically to look at program interventions like food security, water, health, HIV and AIDS. They had got nothing really to do with monitoring of children. And then so we gave him a 5. Then the sponsorship facilitator, who was basically doing this thing. In fact, his jump was like an exciting jump because he was happy. I'm going to have all these people going to help me. We're going to focus on this again. So his jump was just very minimal. He was actually celebrating. Now the accountant is one of them that really had to do a major one. Because as you all know, accountants deal with figures and keeping books and all this. Now you tell him now your JD is going to be changed. And actually their JD literally changed. And we had some of them really telling us, I can't do this. I'm a trained professional accountant and I can't do this. We also had managers saying, you are dreaming. That can never happen. Now, until he saw the champion and the sponsor in the meeting, the person was like, I think now you people are serious. And it did not change the fact until he saw his new JD. Now, the new JD really drove the time in. So, basically, the change impacts people, as he said, and the journey to up here needs the key, the leadership real role. Andrew?
Yeah.